watching Talk of the Town, and many of you who are joining us, of course, are thinking about healthcare options, especially as you near retirement. We're going to learn a little bit from Steve Gaito, who is joining us from Retirement Resource Management, about long-term care and some of the options there. Steve, so nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
Good to see you.
Lots to talk about on this topic, of course. Long-term care. First, let's start with the general basic question of what is long-term care? What are we talking about?
Yeah, folks that are past 55 are starting to think about it, mostly because they've seen parents that have had to go through it. But it's when your health declines to the point that you need help. And there are things called activities of daily living, which are things like getting out of bed, dressing yourself, going to the bathroom, fixing your meals, cognitive things that when they start to decline, you actually may need help to come in there and take care of either your spouse or your parent.
Yeah, and so we start to really think about where is that help going to come from. So let's talk about how long-term care differs from Medicare, because many folks are familiar with the idea that eventually they will be looking at Medicare options. How is this different?
And that's a big misconception that's out there. A lot of people think that Medicare is going to pick up their cost for long-term care, and that's not the function of Medicare. Medicare will help you if you have to go into a rehab facility or something like that. But once you exhaust the number of days there, it becomes your responsibility to cover, the cost of that care, and that cost can be significant. I mean, there's really three different ways. You have home health care. That's where somebody comes into your house and takes care of you or helps there. You have assisted living, which can either be at a facility or at your house. That's where somebody's part-time coming in. And then the dreaded nursing home, which really I've never met a client that says that's how I want to finish up my life is in a nursing home.
Right, and so it really is nice to know your options before you reach that point, of course. But let's discuss costs, because obviously there's a cost to long-term care. I'm assuming the cost savings, though, is what makes it worth it. But how much does it cost?
Well, in South Carolina, I sent a sheet in. Hopefully they can post it up here. But home health care costs about $4,500 a month. Assisted living is around $2,300 a month. And if you have to be in a nursing home, that's almost $8,500 a month. That's over $100,000 a year. And that really, when I start working with clients and we're talking about their budget, we're talking about their spending, I've got a part of my software that illustrates what happens if you have a long-term care event. And the average length is about three and a half years. So just take that 100,000 multiplied by 3. What impact would a $300,000 expense have to the surviving spouse? And usually when I illustrate it, they're like, I had no idea. Because it's not just that. When that person passes away, you've depleted the assets, your taxes have gone up, and some of your income has usually gone away because of what happens when one of the Social Security drops off. So it has like a triple whammy effect when you have a long-term care event. And when they see what happens to the surviving spouse, long-term care becomes very important to couples.
Yeah, and it's so smart the way that you include this as part of your planning, because it is such a big piece of the financial picture potentially as we're aging. Let's talk about how do we pay for long-term care. So where is this money coming from in your recommendation?
Yeah, so the numbers are that the majority of people try to pay for long-term care out of pocket. And with that cost getting so astronomical, very few people are able to do it. The other trend that's happening is having it in their home instead of opting for that nursing home. In order to do that, a lot of times you've got to do some significant planning in advance. The way that long-term care traditionally was covered was through a long-term care policy. It's very similar to your homeowner's policy. So it's a use it or lose it, and you hope you never use it. But lately there have been some new products that have come out there that have added it in with other products, like an annuity or in a life insurance policy. And then the other way that's really used quite frequently now is an asset-based long-term care, where you're actually setting aside some assets to cover long-term care, and because it's in an insurance policy, it's able to multiply that amount. So, and you put $200,000 over there, and you get $350,000 or so of benefit. And if you don't use it, it goes to the kids tax-free, which is another thing that everybody really likes, that part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, there's a lot to know, a lot to learn. If our viewers are interested in learning more, visit Steve's website, retirerm.com. You can learn more there about some of the financial planning tips and tools. Thank you, Steve, for joining us.
Thank you.